spirits. They've induced themselves with spirits. So we're not supposed to be inducing ourselves with spirits. We're supposed to remain logical at all costs and not be off chasing some piece of ass on the Starship Enterprise while we're about to get bombed by a Vulcan ship, right? So who do you want running your ship, right? Who do you want to be the father of the ship, right? You want the cool, calm, level-headed guy. And even women, I feel sorry for a lot of women because a lot of women out there, they think that like if a guy makes them feel good, this is love. This is not love. This is why you weren't supposed to have sex until you get married, is because the whole point of not having sex, when you're not confusing things with sex, back to confusing, right, with sex, now you grow up and you learn about each other and you start learning whether you even like this person or not, and you didn't even have to have sex with them to find out whether you like them or not. And 10 years later, if you're still together, well then you're friends. But if you weren't friends, you would be fiends, fiending off each other, which is codependency, and codependency never works, and it always dissolves, and hence you take the S out of sex and we have X's. So all this codependency and stuff, and then people start appeasing one another because of this codependency, and then they start to hate one another because of this codependency, because they're appeasing everybody, right? Like, sorry for running around on you, dear, but I just bought you a big house, so I hope that makes you feel better. Can you see how stupid this is? And then she's going, oh, thanks, dear. And then next month she's back into, well, she hates you again because she feels like you just bought her off with a house, and she feels used. And how many women feel like this, right? Women, good children that are raised from logical parents don't run around needing sex. They're not out partying, drinking, and snorting their faces off. They're not doing any of this stuff because they are content and they know that the divine is within, okay? And so I just wanted to share that with you. Like, I see all these people and they're running around and, oh, you make me feel so good. No, you make me feel so horny. And let's have a beer and let's party, 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 and party, party, party. And, and then they'll go to casinos afterwards and look at casino, see a sin and O, right? Casino, a sin, O, see a sin, O. You will owe with sins because all these things are sins that are outside of ourselves. And the children don't need this. People even have a war of words with their children where, I don't know why you're doing this. You're just going to grow up to be a fucking bum. And, so now they're having a verbal assault of words, and you take the D out of words and they're having wars, verbal assaults of wars with their children, and then their children grow up resenting their parents, and the children have been traumatized by their fathers and mothers. And again, we live in a society where men are running around acting like women and women are running around acting like men. And no offense, but I'm sure the ladies out there who are real women are tired of this nonsense, right? They want a man in their life, and a real true man has no expectations from the wife, right? She might say, oh, well, honey, we need a new car. And he'll say, sorry, love, I love you, but you know what? The children need braces. You know what I mean? So the guy is being logical, and she might even walk off and get mad at him, and how dare him not buy me a new car, and I deserve a new car after all, raising this family and stuff. And then she'll come back and actually thank him for being logical and say, you're right, honey. It's, like a prime example, I was with this girl for 17, 18 years. And she really tried arguing with me one day. And one thing I didn't do or want to do with her was argue. And she tried arguing with me. And I just looked at her and I went, really? And she, and I said, really? And then she kind of put her head down and she stormed out of the room. And I just said, you might want to rethink things. So rather than arguing with her, rather than getting all emotional, rather than joining her and getting emotionally crazy and wanting to argue with me, and then I want to argue with her and stuff, I just said, really? I said, you might want to rethink things. And that was that. Whether you love me or not, I'm not dependent on your love, because love is patience. Love is kind. Love is compassion. And so she went to work that day and she came back and she walked in the house and she kind of had her head down. She walked up to me and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, sweetie. I don't know what was going through my head. I had some, it was stupid nonsense that was going through my head, because she was getting all emotional over nothing, right? And feelings aren't facts. Right? So these people think that their feelings are facts, but your feelings can actually deceive you, and they are not actually facts, right? And so she came back and she put her head down and I'm sorry, sweetie. And then she looked at me and she said, thanks for not getting mad at me. And I said, why should I get mad at you? If I get mad at you, then that's going to make you more mad. Then we're just going to have a circle of anger and then anxiety and people getting mad. And then I piss her off. And then she's going to work having even more of a foul mood. Can you see how this is a bastardization of society? And one of the reasons why she came back to me is because she realized the error of the situation and of her ways, right? Like even one time, like, I actually did get mad at her and I told her a few words that weren't nice. I was in excruciating pain and it was very hard to think. And I more or less told her, I was like, stop that, leave me alone, fuck off. And she's na 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 and but like after a few minutes, like I caught myself, even though I was in excruciating pain, and normally I'm a very cool, level-headed cucumber, and I caught myself and I went, whoa, that was rude, that was ignorant, that was completely illogical, and I apologized to her. And after that, I also made it a point to never do that to her again. This is what women want. This is what women need, right? So this whole bastardization of society, like, people are running around looking for their better halves and stuff. Well, sit back and take a second to look how preposterous that is, because you were already born whole and then you stepped out and you're always looking for something outside of yourself and you don't feel whole, and now a lot of women feel that they need their better half to make them feel good. That should not be. You are whole. The creator didn't make a mistake when we were say birthed and designed, right? We were born with a full intellectual knowledge of the universe, and then we stepped out, right? And we got out of the Garden of Eden, which is love, right? And which is compassion. And you look at the old Garden of Eden, basically Adam effectively, she was a rib taken out of him. He effectively had sex with his sister. And then what did they do afterwards? Because they felt ashamed. They were running around in the Garden of Eden with leaves over their loins. And so I'm not saying that sex is the forbidden fruit. There's a proper way to have sex and to produce children, to be unique, not a unit. And there's also a wrong way of doing things, right? Which is just running around screwing every woman that you can, having children with all these women, and then you're not even with these women, and all these poor children are growing up, and they don't have fathers. They don't have the mother doesn't have the assistance of the husband, and it takes a village to raise a child, a community to raise a child, and now this community has been torn apart, and a lot of single women are raising children by themselves, and they're having a hard time. And is this a very loving society? And a lot of the poor ladies out there, I'm sure you ladies are tired of just being used. And at the same time, and then a lot of ladies are back to like, they'll have sex with the guy and stuff, thinking that sex can almost be like an entrapment. And they'll have sex with the guy and stuff, and everything's cool. And then once the honeymoon wears off, well, then everybody's at a war of words with each other again. And, well, I don't love you anymore. Nah, 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 nah. And I don't love you anymore. Nah, nah. Get the frig out. Nah, 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 nah. And so this is just a whole complete bastardization of society. So, like I say, we have women that are working like dogs and working like men to put bacon on the table, when effectively this is what the guys should be doing. And I'm not saying women should be barefoot and pregnant in a kitchen and stuff, but the male is supposed to have a role of the male, like say for example, there's a ship going down, they always say women and children first. What does this kind of thinking say? It says that guys are expendable. We're useless pieces of shit, right? And in all reality, if a ship is going down, you can bet your ass that it'll be a guy who is probably logical, who is helping to save the most lives, okay? So there's a yin and a yang balance of women having their female strengths and men having their male strengths. And this is the union, right? Okay. And when you put this together in a good functioning unit, and they don't have expectations of each other, and they're not in this crazy little thing called love. And like, here's another thing, people say, well, love is blind. I'll be honest with you, people, I love you all, and love is not blind. just because some hot looking chick is shaking her ass in front of me, don't get me wrong, I like women and stuff, but like I come to the conclusion now I'm happy by myself. I am whole. I'm not looking for a better half. Should I meet a lady, say in the future, where we truly care and love, have love for each other and we have no expectations of each other and stuff? Absolutely, that's fine. But like, like I don't care if some woman's trying to attract me by shaking her hips and stuff. I'm not getting all emotionally crazy over this, going, oh, yeah, yeah, I'm going to get a piece of ass and I'm going to score. And look at the terms. You're going to score, right? Does she make you horny? You're growing horns out of your head, right? You're not supposed to be growing horns out of your head. You're not supposed to be turning into a devil, and you take the D out of devil, which is evil, and you're not supposed to turn into a horny devil needing sex from a woman, right? And again, like women are tired of this, and love is not blind. Like I'm patient with people and I try to be compassionate with people, and even if I'm having a bad day, I still try to be compassionate and patient with people, because love does not anger, and love is patience. And even if somebody does something where they try to piss me off, all I can do is be patient with them and let them learn the error of their ways, and then they'll probably come back like my ex-girlfriend did and say, I'm sorry, honey. Can you see this? This is love, people. Love is not having a war of words with people. Love is not imposing your will upon people. I'll love you if you do this. I'll love you if you do that. I'll love you when we have a bigger house. This is not love, people, okay? Self-love, back to what my ex-girlfriend's mom told me years ago. How can you love anybody if you don't love yourself? And then we have a whole world of people who think they'll be whole when they find their better half when they were already whole. So if they don't feel whole, they're in divide, right? And now they've been divided from the truth, which is the whole, okay? And so you're either a one or you're a half a one. And what's a half a one? Well, you're not very solid, right? And so love is not blind. When I look around, I'm not blinded by like whether some chick shakes her ass and makes me feel good, or if she's sitting on top of me and we're having sex. This is not love, and I don't derive love from this. Okay, love is not a derivative of anything. Love is just simply being patient, kind, watching people do what they do, and maybe even they're screwing up in life. And all you can do, you might say, hey, don't walk off the edge of the cliff, and you're showing a little love. But other than that, I'm not going to constantly, hey, don't go off that cliff, don't go off that cliff. We all have to go off our cliffs of life in order to learn the error of our ways, okay? Like, a prime example, my girlfriend, my ex that I was with for 17, 18 years, like many moons ago, like this was before I met her, she had moved from out west to Montreal. And long story short, her and her friend had got caught with a gram of hash on them. And so the police wound up calling her mother and all this stuff. And when she got back home, her mother just said, did you learn the error of your ways? No, she said, I see you've learned the error of your ways. That was it. Her mother didn't chastise her. Her mother didn't punish her. I mean, well, her daughter at that point was 18 years old, but the whole 9 yards. And so you can see how love does not anger, and love is kind, and love is patient, and love is compassion, and love does not rejoice in evil. And we have a whole world where everybody's rejoicing in evil and partying their asses off, thinking that life is a big party. And you watch television, and it's party, 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 and sex, 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 and it's all crazy. And this is why people run around thinking they'll be better off when they find their better half. So clearly, you can see how preposterous this is, people, right? You were whole, and we all stepped out of the garden and started getting sidetracked by pussy and booze and drugs and all kinds of things, when we never needed it, because everything you need is that which is within, okay? So please, people, in the world, love is not an emotion. Love is just a state of being, and the state of being comes from the heart. Like when I help people, I don't derive any like, oh, that makes me feel so good because I gave some panhandler $5. No, I don't feel good at all. If I see somebody who needs a sandwich, I'll say, hey man, you need a sandwich. I'll walk into the store with them and buy them a sandwich. And even the girlfriend one day, she's like, oh, does that make you happy? I said, no, it doesn't make me happy. I said, why would helping somebody make me happy? I don't rejoice in making people happy, right? Just like I try not to make people sad, and like I wouldn't rejoice in making people sad. The heart just does what it does. It's like if a child is drowning, the heart just, the grace of the universe, without thinking, you just jump in and grab the child and save the child from drowning. This is love, okay? Love is, well, is that water, love is not, is that water going to be too cold? Am I going to get eaten by those alligators or sharks? And are they going to pull me down while I'm trying to rescue the kid? That is not love. Love is of the mind, and when you're, love is not of the mind, and like you're almost back to peace, right? Who would probably jump in to save a drowning child real fast? Somebody has a clear head, they're very logical, and they're very at peace because they're not thinking about all this bullshit. They're at peace, and decisions just automatically fly. It's like when you're at peace and time ceases to stand still. It's like that moment, and you're in your garden, right? There's no time. And here's another thing: we live in a world full of time. Everybody's on time. Are you on time? Were you late? This whole whole 9 yards. Time is just a manufactured construct from man to control man. Time truly doesn't exist. The sun arises, hence Aries in the, in the astrological charts and stuff. The sun arises when the sun arises. The plants grow towards the sun when the sun arises. This is life. The universe truly knows no time. And if you look at time and you say it backwards, to emit, right? And usually you would have a remittance of time, right? Just add an R, right? Timer, now you have remit. So we live in a whole world full of fake time where, like, if you're not on the deadline, look at the terms. If you don't meet the deadline, now you're going to die. You can see how preposterous this is. And what is a deadline? It's a flat line. And if you go to the hospital and you die, it's a flat line. And then meanwhile, everybody runs around signing on these deadlines, which is just a line on a piece of paper with an X, where X marks the spot where X is a blemish. And getting back to sex, you take the S out and everybody's an X because they're no longer together again. So when you come to peace and you realize that peace is always there, but you have to come to it, this is why you meditate and stuff, is to allow the garbage to go through your head. You process the garbage, and then after a while, the garbage, what's flowing in, will start flowing out. It's almost like grounding yourself because you are electrical. And then only when you have a clear mind, then the whole universe will be known to you. That's why when you're quiet, a lot of times the light goes on and certain things, and you'll, oh, that's what that meant. Otherwise, people are getting all emotionally crazy and they think that their feelings are facts when nothing could be further from the truth. You might think, something's going to happen, and meanwhile, it doesn't even happen, because here you were thinking that feelings were facts, which is illogical, okay, people? So I just wanted to share this. When you're at peace, time, space, all this stuff ceases to exist. And when you look at a good household of parents and stuff, they're not emotionally crazy. They're usually very logical, and the kids grow up and they sense this logical, and that they're not getting emotionally crazy, like my buddy's children's mom, where she was na 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 getting all crazy, and then they were laughing at her, and then they were like, Dad, mom's crazy, so even that tells people things. So when you come to peace and stuff, and your children go up being subjugated to this peace, they grow up to be beautiful, loving people who have no expectations of anybody, which is not love. So now they have more love, and you're almost back to, like, if I do something for you, I don't do it because it makes me feel good. I just do it because it's the right thing to do. And that's what love is. Love is simply, that's the term I'm looking for. Love is just simply the right thing to do, Do I not jump in and save the child, or do I jump in and save the child? You jump in, you save the child. There's not an ounce of thought into it. That's the right thing to do. Oh, here, you look like you're starved. You're hungry. Do you need a sandwich, man? Yeah, okay. Like the girlfriends, doesn't that make you feel good? I said, no, I don't derive any pleasure off seeing somebody going hungry and then feeding them. Why would I? That's rather a sick, perverse train of thought. And we have a world where people want to do things because they want to feel good. I don't do things to feel good. I just do things because they're right. If they're wrong, I don't want to do them. That's it. And that's what love is. Love is simply just doing things from the heart, right? The heart is your most important organ, and the heart, when it's not of the brain, it's not of the mind, and then you're not a thin king. when you're from the heart, you just naturally do what's right. That's from the heart, straight from the heart. Okay. Otherwise, you'll run around in a world of confusion, and you'll go into relationship, in and out of relationship, and they'll put arrows through your heart, man. And all the time, you'll get crushed. You'll get crushed. You'll get destroyed, and then you'll be looking for love with the next woman, or the next woman will be looking for love with the next guy, and you know like you look at things, and it's just you do what's right. And like even a few times watching, like for example, I have a friend. Now, he was with this woman and she was never happy with him. She always hated him. She even tried turning the kids, well, she did eventually turn the kids against him, because her hate for him, she also used that to convert the kids to the point where they hated him. And even one day I said to him, I says, man, she's cat shit crazy. I'm surprised you never left her. Don't get me wrong, guys are like this too, right? Well, I'm sure you ladies can agree upon this. But effectively, I'm like, man, and you know what he said to me? He says, no, man. He says, no, he says, I took her for better or for worse. And he says, so until the day we're dead, he says, I'm stuck with her. He never got mad at her. He never took her shit personally. She could walk in the house losing her shit, throwing shit at him, the whole 9 yards, and he would sit there as cool as a cucumber, and he would just say honestly, you know what I mean? And he knew that if he would fight with her all the time, it would just make him crazy, and then he would go crazy, just like she was going crazy. And he stayed level-headed, and he also told me, he said, I'm with her. I took her for better or for worse, man, through thick and thin. And he says, so the only way I'll ever leave her is if she actually gets up and decides to leave me. A few years later, she actually did decide to leave him. And then he had already met this girl prior, but he never cheated with her. He liked this other woman and stuff, but he never cheated with her. He never deviated away from feeding his children, any of that. And this was logical. And after she had left him, his wife had like, nah, 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 I've had it with your shit and I'm leaving you. She left and he went off with the other girl, but he never cheated on his wife. You see this? Even one day his wife was, I know he's cheating on me. He's out for 12, 14, 15 hours a day. And I said, the guy's at work. Oh, no, he's not. I says, listen to yourself. I says, you're talking complete and sure utter shit. I says, I work with the guy. And I says, last night we had a 14-hour day once we picked up our supplies and we stayed there and finished the job. I said, so where does he get time to run around and cheat on you? And then she stopped dead in her tracks, because now she stood corrected. And I wasn't trying to be rude. This was just the truth correcting a lie. That's all it was. And then she was, oh, I guess. And it's like, yeah, you're getting all crazy off your feelings thinking that they're facts when they're not even facts. And you don't even know this. And then you're making these accusations of accusing him of cheating on you, when, let me tell you, I've known that guy for years and he never cheated on his wife. And only when she actually filed and separated and said, I'm leaving you, we're completely done. And that's when he wound up with this other woman, and even the other woman he wound up with, she's a friend of mine, and like she thanks me for like introducing them. And I told you, I said, I didn't introduce you guys. That was just the way the universe flowed. And it just so happened that because we're friends, we all wound up there. But they didn't meet because of me. Yes, we all got together and hung out a few times, and that's how she met him. But like, what is meant to happen is meant to happen. And I wasn't the love maker or the love matcher, not even close. So do I deserve a thanks? Obviously not. Again, you're back to what is right. And the heart deals in what is right. The heart's not, the brain is into stupid lovey-dovey emotions and all this bullshit, but the heart isn't. The heart is straight up, man. Straight up heart, which is of the earth. The anagram of heart is earth. And so do you want to be a salt of the earth? And I applaud my buddy. Like back to that relationship, I applaud him because he wasn't getting all emotionally crazy. He did what was logical. I'll stay with her whether she hates me or not. And no, I'm not going to allow her to make me mad because we have the children. And eventually, of course, she turned the children against him. And he still loves his children, but now the children don't even talk to him. And I said, does that make you sad? And he's like, no. He says, I did the best I could, man. He says, I raised them. He says, I imparted my ways of trying to be a good person and instill that on them. And he says at the end, when we separated and their mother got a hold of them, he says they turned she bastardized them and they turned into little bastards. And we also live in a society where guys are trying to turn their kids against their mother, and it's again, you're back to a war of words and stuff. And he never had a war of words with her. Never, never. I never saw him get mad. I never saw him, like he said, if I get mad and I get crazy, I'm just going to age and I'm going to die. And what's the point of arguing? It takes two fools to argue. So again, people, love is straight from the heart. Love doesn't, it just does what's right, okay? It doesn't do anything. It doesn't rejoice in, oh, you make me feel so good because I helped you in that. That is not love. And unfortunately, I live in a world where everybody thinks love is, well, if you make me feel good, I love you, right? You know? So anyhow, I'm going to leave it at that. I've been babbling long enough. Love is not an emotion. Love is not a feeling. A feeling isn't an emotion, and an emotion is a feeling. And you have to, at the end of the day, be like Spock on Star Trek, or be like my buddy, where he never cheated on his wife, even though his relationship with her sucked and she hated him near the end and the whole 9 yards. He never had an ounce of resentment for her, never hated her. He wouldn't allow himself to get into that kind of garbage. He knew that he had children to work for, and that's why he was working 14 hours a day, so he could pay the bills. Okay, people. So just know that love is straight from the heart. It's not of the mind. And this is how it is. And when things are from the heart, they have no expectations. They just do things because they are right. So I hope this video finds you well. I send everybody much love, peace, respect always. Till then, keep your heads up, your sticks on the ice. Namaste. Cheers. Bye. Peace. God bless. Love you all. Bye.